Hello, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and waterfowls. It's me, Big Mike, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Coffee with Big Mike, the series where I sit down for a chat with some rather interesting and amazing people over a nice cup of coffee. Joining me today is Sylvain, the developer behind Classic Sport Driving and the founder of Indie Racers Festival. Welcome, Sylvain, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, hello Mike. Thanks for the invitation.
It's a pleasure to have you here, fam. It really is. You know, I was a huge fan of Indie Racers, the festival last year. And if I'm not mistaken, that was the first time it was held. And
Yes,
I was really
exactly.
surprised by just how much depth a festival such as that had. So it's
Yes,
a pleasure to have you
I must
here
say,
today.
I must say, I was surprised too. It was meant to be a very small festival. It grew rapidly to a relatively large size. So I was the first surprised, I guess.
Before we get too far into this discussion, I just want to ask, because I have a fan out there, she loves to know what me and my guests are having for drink. So I myself am drinking a lovely Robusta coffee from Toraja, Indonesia today. Are you drinking on anything?
I could have been drinking coffee because it's the morning. It's 9 a.m. here. But I don't drink coffee. I wouldn't sleep ever if I would do that. I'm drinking some herbal tea.
I've been following Indie Racers and I'm familiar with classic sports driving. But for our audience out there who may not be familiar with you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I actually was not prepared for that, but I should have. I'm an older gamer. I'm 47 years old now, and I've been doing software development since a while, mostly in the industry. And recently, I got the opportunity, the time opportunity, and the idea to create a game, to try something, because I was a big fan of racing games on the Amiga earlier, and names like Lotus Turbo Challenge, for example, come in, and I just wanted to try out if I could do something, and a bit like the Indie Racer Festival, the game grew a lot bigger than I expected at the beginning. So I could build a small team. We had Jill creating all the graphics, Coscape the music. We had Philip with the car, which is the only three-dimensional element in game. We had Laurent helping with sound design. And I wouldn't have reached 1% of the current state of the game if I was to stay alone. So it was very great to be able to build a small team. So the game grew bigger, took us longer to develop, and now it's there. It's really, I guess it's the usual game dev adventure, because you don't really know where you're going and what you'll be able to build in the end. So that's it. We are quite proud to have made Classic Sport Driving. And we still hope that we can continue in the game dev work area, which is not obvious because making a game is not easy and selling a game is not easy either. So we're still in that step.
Game development is quite a challenge. You have to be a jack of all trades. You have to be able to not only handle the programming aspect, but also the art, the marketing. And this is especially true, this is true if you're a solo dev. But for many smaller teams as well, members have to oftentimes juggle certain positions. And so it can be a handful.
Yes, I can confirm that. It's been a crazy few years lately.
Now, when it comes to game development and stuff, you have to be a jack of all trades. You have to have a little bit of experience doing this and doing that. Now, when it comes to setting up a festival, do you feel like any of your game dev experience prepared you for that?
I think so, because we all have to do marketing, as you said, within many other things. And we are all used to try to create an audience on social media and so on. And that's same for a festival, I guess. And that's actually exactly the idea behind the festival. is to try to make our audiences something common and bigger to share in some way for a relatively short time our communications strengths. I say strengths, so it's super weak, but if you get like last year's 30 games with super weak communication strengths, in the end it's not so small anymore.
And I can tell from just the turnout last year that I can tell we had something special on our hands. There were so many unique titles there. You know, when I first heard about indie racers, I was thinking, okay, maybe they will, there's definitely going to be like some realistic racers, like classic, sports driving, maybe some stock or NASCAR style stuff, maybe a couple kart racers, but that's it, But actually going to the festival, I was quite surprised. Not only did you have, your traditional racers and your kart racers, you had things that you wouldn't even imagine. Things like office chair racing simulator, for example.
Mm-hmm.
That actually blew my mind. I never even imagined such a thing would be a game. And that game right there alone deserves its own episode.
Yes, actually, he's one of the most active members of the indie racers community right now. The developer of Chair Racing Simulator, I mean. But what you say, that you discovered games you wouldn't have imagined before, I think it's showing a bit how hard it's to get known for an indie game. That was the same for me. When we built the festival, I already had, I thought, a relatively big network of other racing game devs because we had the Indie Racers hashtag since a long time already, and we're sharing news every Sunday and so on. And actually, I discovered many games too, and this is exactly that each one has his audience, but it's so small then we can miss it, even if we are fellow racing game developer.
I'm very familiar with indie racers, but for our audience at home listening, can you tell them about Indie Racers, the festival?
It started as a hashtag at first. We had failed our Kickstarter campaign with classic sport driving. And I was forced to see that our communication was too weak. So I wanted to seek for ideas to improve that. And I can't remember the hashtag anymore, but there was at that time, it's like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I'm not sure anymore. There was a weekly hashtag for narrative games. And they were sharing news each week. Each week, one of them was hosting, and they were sharing news. So I came with the idea that we could do the same for racing games, since I had already a few racing games in my Twitter contacts. And so we built the Indie Racers hashtag. It's still alive today, and every Sunday we share some news about our game. And every Sunday we try to have a different. It's still alive, but it's not very alive. It's hard to keep that sort of thing living for years. But started from that, it's always a story of opportunity. At some stage, we started to introduce multiplayer in classic sport driving. And I wanted to have players testing the game in real conditions. So I was starting to think about creating a classic sport driving weekend where you could play the game, play the demo of the game, and earn keys if you are in the top amongst the top racers. But since we were already doing the Indie Racers digest every Sunday, I shared the ideas there with other racing devs, and that was the beginning of the Indie Racers Festival. Because I was not the only one to want to test some new things and with players, and it was the opportunity to share some visibility with other racing devs. So it started that way, and it like I said, it grew rapidly. We got some help last year. Also, you probably have seen Riding Seas. Also, the developer of Riding Seas has helped a lot with creating and maintaining the Discord server. So to make everything come to place, I built a website. Tristan from Tristan Call Pro Driver hosted the website. We had, I can't see, DevDad, the developer of, I can't remember the name, but I'd find it back quickly. Infinity Girl. So this racing game with someone who is running so fast. He has been helping with the trailer, and many people have been helping in the same way, and we could make the festival grow. And I'm really glad that you liked it last year, because it was really something experimental. It's a bit less experimental this year because we know a bit better where we're going. But really, it's for some part luck that everything went so well last year.
Actually, that kind of answers my next question. I was going to ask you, how did the last year go? How did the last year go? But I'm guessing behind the scenes, it must have went pretty stellar.
Yes, I think altogether we created something very great. I hope the festival from the outside at least looks great. One thing for sure is we have many games, and it will be the case this year too. And we have many gifts. I'm not sure if we festival gets as much gifts as that. However, it's not the biggest festivals in terms of Wishlist, for example. I can remember that the effect of the festival last year on our wishlist count was not so high. That's also because every game is relatively small, so we have a relatively small audience, and we didn't add any big streamer. Let's see what this year can become. So this is also a call. We need streamers. If you want to join and support the Indie Racing Festival, there is definitely opportunities to help.
Unfortunately, I'm not a streamer. I'm more of a traditional YouTuber, but I do have a lot of streamer friends. Most of my content creator friends happens to be streamers. And as the as the festival gets closer, I'm going to start putting out more and more tweets, trying to let people know about it and trying to get some of my content creator friends into this. 'Cause I'm a huge fan of supporting indie festivals. And I'm a huge fan of supporting indie games in general because I believe, now I'm a bit biased when I say this, but I believe that indie games are where the best games are being made at today. Don't get me wrong, I do like some AAA stuff. I like some first party games, but I feel like the real heart and soul of gaming today is indie games. And, when gaming first started in the late 80s, early 80s, there was kind of this anything possible spirit with it. And it seems like over time, a lot of the big companies kind of lost that touch to a certain extent. But I believe that the indie game scene or the indie dev scene are the torchbearers to that tradition of anything's possible. And so I'm a huge fan of supporting indies, and I try to do what I can to help.
Well, thanks a lot. About the creativity in indie games, maybe I can say for sure that you have to be a bit crazy to be an indie dev, because it's very hard, time-consuming, and with a very low probability of success. It reminds me of a famous movie. And if the devs are a bit crazy, maybe the game can be a bit crazy too. So it's just something apart. Also, I want to apologize. I said streamer, and I will always make the same mistake. I say streamer for every content creator, but we don't need streamers only. We need visibility, and Michael from earlier, I should have said every content creator who likes racing game can help. And is welcome on our Discord, of course. Sorry for the mistake.
And I completely understand. I completely understand. No worries here, fam. No worries here. Now, I want to ask, what can festival goers expect this year?
I don't think I can give any goal. The first goal would be to reach the same game count as before, as last year, so that was 33. And we are at 22 games registered now. Only part of them are right now on the webpage indieracers.com, because the others are still considering what they can offer as gift, rewards, exclusivity, whatever for the festival. But I think our first goal should be to reach something similar in terms of games present in the festival. We're close to that, so I guess that should be okay. And our second goal should be to increase our visibility in comparison with last year. And that's back to my call for, I say it correctly this time, content creators who eventually could help. A third goal could be keep the Indie Racers Festival alive for next year and give us a rendezvous for next year. That would be the third goal.
Now, sometimes festivals, they will have like certain limitations when it comes to their games. Like here, for example, the focus is on racing games. Now that's a very broad definition, as we've discussed earlier, that can be filled by many, many different types of games. Everything from Infinity Girl to Chair Racing Simulator to Classic Sports Driving to Pocket Wheels. Those are all very different games. But besides those, are there any other limitations? Like, for example, I know sometimes festivals will say, okay, if your game's already been fully published, you can't share it here. Or if you've already shared your game in the past here, you can't share it here. Are there any kind of limitations like that with any racer festivals?
Not yet, at least. I mean, if some people were to abuse and try to join the Indie Racers Festival with a AAA game for the third time in a row, I guess we should start to introduce some limitations. But right now, there hasn't been any, as far as I'm aware of, so there is no reason for that. We're just welcoming everyone that has something special for the festival. So if your game is already out since 1 year, a few years, whatever, if you're indie and you have something new, a new car, something just as simple as a new car or a new update, a new content, or simply keys to win, I don't see any reason why we will say no. Creating an indie game isn't easy and it takes years. I start to feel now that selling it is also a long time effort, and there is no reason to exclude people whose game is already out since a few years. That's my opinion, at least for now.
No, I think that's a really good philosophy when having a festival like this. I think it's a really good approach. Is there anything you'd like our audience to know about the festival this year?
One thing, it's not very common, and we can do that because the festival is small, but not only content creators and studios can join our Discord and discuss the festival, but players are welcome too. So if you're just interested in the festival and want to discuss with developers, the Discord of the Indie Racers Festival, the link is on the indieracers.com webpage, is there, and you're welcome to join.
And in addition to putting a link to the festival in the About section below this video, I'm also going to include a link to the Discord. So all you lovely guys, gals, non-binary pals, and waterfowls can be sure to check it out. It's a lovely group of people. You will feel right at home there.
Yes, I guess so. Game dev is really friendly, but probably because each one is so small, we don't feel like we're in competition with each other. So rather helping out each other than fearing the other game devs.
And that's one of the things I really, really like about the indie game scene on Twitter. My first interaction came about 2 years ago with the indie game dev community, and I saw somebody interacting. Somebody was looking for feedback on their game. And if you spent any time on the internet, looking for feedback on something is like one of the last things you'd want to do in a lot of communities online. And so I was thinking, oh my God, this guy is about to have the worst day of his life. But I go to read the the replies. One of the most wholesome things I've ever seen. You had game devs praising him, game devs, giving him positive feedback, giving him constructive criticism, offering advice. And, I found that to be quite helpful and quite wholesome. So I was really, really surprised. And I think, I might be wrong about this, but I think the indie game dev community on Twitter is probably one of the most positive communities on the whole platform.
It could be. I'm only on Twitter for game dev with our classic sport driving account, and I can see regularly in the Twitter trends that Twitter is considered as a place where people can be aggressive and so on. And I've never seen that in my feed since 3-4 years developing classic sport driving. Is always nice and positive stuff. Of course, it's a small topic and it's about gaming, but it has a lot, I think.
Now, I have one final specific question for you. What does the future hold for Indie Racers Festivals? Do you think this will become a yearly event?
Well, like I said, I hope. That's why I said let's take a rendezvous for next year. It's still fragile. Is the word correct? So that's not sure. We'll try to do that, and I also don't know what the future for Pixel Rappers is, the studio name behind the classic sport drivings. So it's only a name right now because we're trying to work further in the game dev industry, but it's unsure. So maybe we won't be able to continue with the Indie Racer Festival, but maybe other devs will be able to keep it alive for years and years. Of course, I would like to still be there and to be able to still be in the game dev industry.
Well, I hope both the Indie Racers Festival and your game development team has a very long future, a very long career. Both are very important parts of the indie dev scene, I think.
Thanks a lot. Fingers crossed.
But that's going to do it for all my questions. Do you have any specific questions for me?
No, thank you. Thanks again for inviting me. And I hope this will help the indie racers, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us, Sylvain. All right, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and waterfowls, thank you so much for joining us as well. Be sure to check out Indie Racers Festival at the link below. It runs from Friday, September 1st, 5 p.m. GMT to Monday, September 4th, 5 p.m. GMT. Also, be sure to follow Sylvain on Twitter at the link below. Special thanks to Fran, who does a wonderful job doing my art. She's back on Twitter, so please give her a follow. A special thanks to all of my friends on Twitter. I wouldn't be here without you all. And most importantly, a special thank you to all of you for watching. Please like this video if you like it. Dislike it if you dislike it. Feel free to comment below and let me know what you think. And if you like my content, please subscribe and turn your notifications on. Until next time, fam, just remember, be yourself and you'll be awesome. Peace out!